Hey traders, checking in on the cryptocurrency space. A good bit of fear out there the last couple of days. A lot of people on Twitter now talking about bear markets. Are we in a bear market? Do the bulls still have control? What are we looking for from here? We'll go over it all. It's pouring rain, but the charts are shining. Let's check them out. So we'll start it off first with the S&P 500 futures chart, because we know that when there is fear, correlations sync up. And we have had fear in the broader market this week with a big drop down to start. And now we have a bounce attempt underway. I'm recording this video at 1:20 p.m. Eastern. By the time I upload it, we will have just been getting our FOMC reaction, and we're going to be watching the broader market as well as the cryptocurrency space as well as the dollar, all reacting to that. So as you're watching this video, that reaction is being priced in. So we have the S&P 500 futures chart confirming a 4-hour trend change, and we've been extremely correlated to Bitcoin and SPY. And I posted 5-minute time frame chart yesterday where they were doing the exact same thing. And it's just been the same, but Bitcoin has been weaker. Why can we say that? Because this chart has been the same. And let's just pull up the comparison real quick. What has Bitcoin been doing on the 4-hour time frame? It dropped to a lower low. So we had the S&P 500 bottom. We topped out. Bottom, topped out. Lower low. Higher low, and resistance break. So if Bitcoin were as strong as the S&P 500, we would have held support, and right now we would be over our 4-hour resistance of 43.6K. So very similar, just little differences between the two. So Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame is testing our resistance of 43.6 thousand, and if we reject from here, we are then going to be looking for a 4-hour higher low because we have a lot of space for it to form. Keep in mind, I was saying this exact same thing yesterday because it was the same setup. We had a 4-hour lower high, we dropped down to a lower low, we were heading up towards resistance, and the bulls had to confirm a trend change. A 4-hour higher low was the most likely scenario here because of the size of the bounce retracement. Why did we not set a 4-hour higher low? Increasing bear volume made the less likely scenario play out. So here we are again. This is a potential left shoulder. This is our head. If we reject from 43.6K, we have to form a 4-hour higher low and confirm the trend change for an inverse head and shoulders setup. Anything above 39.6 thousand, almost 10% of space to work with. We'll call it 9% from the high here, but a lot of space to work with to set a 4-hour higher low. So that's what we're looking for over the next day into tomorrow. 4-hour trend change. If the bulls confirm a 4-hour trend change, we zoom out and we scout a daily lower high to be the result of this bounce. Anything under 48.8 is a daily lower high, and there's a lot of space for it. So there's a lot of space for a 4-hour higher low. There's a lot of space for a daily lower high. One other pattern that I'm watching here is a bigger picture trend line and a bull support and resistance. I'm watching from this previous drop. That's a beauty. It's what we in the industry call a beauty. So very clear longer term channel. And let's just say this bounce takes a little while to play out. Bulls would have to make a pretty notable bounce, but let's just say it's a slower bounce and it takes, 4 or 5 days. We could be looking at this downtrending resistance line for that daily lower high to form. I'm not as concerned about the resistance line, more concerned with the support line just because of how many times it's come into play. 6 separate touches here, and that's going to be key from here. As far as the bounces on Bitcoin that took place, I want to note the confluence of multiple things taking place. Number one, extreme RSI levels. The 4-hour RSI for both bounces down in the teens. The hourly RSI extremely crushed as well, down in the teens, more so the first time around. And the short-term RSI is crushed as well. What is the signal to begin scaling in? For me personally, it always aligns. Okay, I know we're extreme oversold. Now I want a psychological support level to break to help flesh out that climax, because we see a number of things happen. We see a lot of coins fill on that psychological level. We see stops under the psychological level, and then we see bulls buy the break of the psychological level support. And that's usually what leads to a lot of coins. And so we can see, look at how long we stayed under 41,000 the first time that broke. It broke, and we were under that level for a total of maybe 6 minutes. And then that marked the bottom, and we bounced 7 to 8% from there. And then the next time around, the same exact thing happened. where we broke 40,000. And now we've got a 8% plus bounce again. And we stayed under 40,000 for minutes. That was the key. And again, if you're trading alts, you're watching Big Daddy Bitcoin for clues, but we were under 40,000 for less than 3 minutes of trading. V-shaped bounce. So that's the last flush out. That's the last bear momentum clearing that level. And I just imagine a bear sprinting and running, and he's getting tired, and he's clearing hurdles, he's going over brush, and at every psychological level, there's a pile of brush that he's getting through, and he powers through, he's getting real tired, and he powers through, and that's all he's got. And then we go in the other direction. And so, watch for psychological levels of signal. I just made a trade in stocks, trading LCID. I'm about to upload a trade review, and my entry was extreme RSI levels in combination with a clear round psychological level breaking was my trigger for entry. So just keep an eye out for that. And it goes in the other way as well. Sometimes we'll climax top by breaking a key psychological resistance level. For me personally, I did not trade this bounce. And honestly, I am extremely proud of that. Why? Because yesterday I was on the computer for 10 hours doing the TheChartGuys stock thing. And the end of the day rolled around. I got done my stock market video. And I could see, we're weak and we might be shaping up for a $40,000 support break. I had a hornet's nest that I had to deal with, yellow jackets. They were swarming the birds out by my feeder. And so I had two choices. Number one, shape my life around trading cryptocurrency and sit at the computer for an 11th hour of the day. Or number two, close up shop and go deal with life. And I am very proud of my discipline that I didn't care at all about the Bitcoin move. And I'm glad a lot of people in the chat room are playing the bounce, but honestly, just not for me. And again, that's a huge difference between me now and me in 2017. Life shaped around trading versus trading shaped around life. And I know a lot of you are trying to get it while the opportunity is there, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was in your shoes a while ago, but for me personally, just sticking bigger picture and sticking with trade swing mindset. And if I were at the computer in the middle of the day and that 40,000 break took place, I would have played the bounce, but not the case. So as you know, for a long time now, we've been talking about the most likely scenario on this monthly chart being an equilibrium with a monthly lower high. That is still possible, but things are happening at a more rapid rate. And what I mean by that is we're seeing a lot of price action within this one monthly candle, and we've already retraced over 50%. So I may switch it to the 2-week time frame for clarity, and I'll explain why. Because again, the retracement here from the high of this bounce, come on, pulled back over 50%, so about 55% retracement. So when we broke 40,000, we were right back in the middle of our equilibrium tightening range. If we go to the 2-week time frame, the equilibrium is a little bit more clear to me. The lower high has convincingly set, because if I were going to the monthly here, I would say, well, the candle hasn't closed and it's not officially set yet, but we retraced 55%. So that's enough for me to say, yeah, the lower high was set. So I'm going with the 2-week time frame now rather than the monthly. I'm going with the all-time high, the low of the pullback, lower high, and we're scouting the higher low compared to 28.8 thousand as the most likely scenario. So what's going to be the indication that our 2-week higher low is being set? A daily trend change is needed. So we need the 4-hour trend change to get the daily bounce going, and then we need a big enough bounce retracement on the daily. And again, I got the fib video on our YouTube channel. If you Google TheChartGuys fib, it'll help explain a lot of this if it's not making sense to you. But scouting, how big is the daily bounce? Does it create the space for a daily trend change to try and take shape? It's the same thing with the S&P 500. You look at SPY, it's getting a daily bounce. Is it a big enough bounce for a daily trend change to take shape? Best case scenario for the Bitcoin bulls is for SPY to set a monthly higher low and to be a monthly bull flag. It's possible, but we do need a daily trend change back to bulls for that to shift to a potential more likely scenario. As long as we're in a daily downtrend, we're not talking about monthly bull flags. So Bitcoin, all about the 4-hour in the short term. What do the bears need to do to put an exclamation on things? Obviously, just keep their control. If we break 39.6 thousand, definitely a red flag. At that point, the retracement will be pushing 60% plus. But again, it will still be a ton of space for a higher low. Remember, again, we go through so many emotional cycles in crypto. Just remember when we were looking for the weekly consolidation and we knew it would be inevitable and it just was taking so long to roll over into it. And now here we are. The most likely scenarios take place. They just sometimes take a little bit longer than we think they will. So we're looking for a weekly higher low compared to 28.8. And the only way that we don't see it, in my opinion, would be a massive negative reaction to whatever kind of regulation comes out of Washington, or a massive market sell-off as far as the stock market. In the absence of either of those two things, weekly higher low, most likely scenario, and we'll be talking about a break of this equilibrium into the year end. Towards the end of the year. We still got 12 weeks, 13 candles here before the end of the year. Dominance chart. Best case scenario for the cryptocurrency bulls is a bear flag on the weekly time frame for the dominance chart, confirming the bear flag on the monthly. We're holding monthly support right now, but it's a weekly bounce. So if this bounce in the cryptocurrency space continues and altcoins continue to bounce more significantly, we will look for this to potentially be a weekly bear flag. And you can see it's just inverse to what Bitcoin's 4-hour time frame looks like. We see Bitcoin drop and the alts drop harder. Bitcoin bounces and the alts bounce harder. Bitcoin drops and the alts drop harder. I did that backwards. Let's try that again. So Bitcoin drops and the alts drop harder. No, other way. Bitcoin drops and it's a long day. Bitcoin drops and the alts drop harder. Bitcoin bounces and the alts bounce harder. Bitcoin drops and the alts drop harder. And Bitcoin is bouncing and the alts are bouncing harder. Inverse to the US dollar price action of Bitcoin. ETHUSD. So weekly cup and handle is no longer a likely scenario. Why? Because the size of the retracement. Again, if you're going to be a bull flag and if you're going to be a handle of a cup and handle, you want to hold the 382 retracement. And at this point, we pulled back almost 60%. So equilibrium then becomes the most likely scenario. So we've got our high, low, lower high, and we're scouting a higher low with tons of space above 1700. We need a daily trend change back to the bulls for a daily or a weekly higher low to be set. And we're still in the 4-hour pattern that Bitcoin is. So if we reject from resistance here, 3100, have to hold a 4-hour higher low with tons of space for it to form, have to confirm the 4-hour trend change, then we zoom out and we measure what's the bounce retracement on the daily, can the bulls confirm a daily trend change and set a weekly higher low. ETHBTC, weekly bear break, still holding EMA 12, bulls really want to keep this uptrend and weekly higher lows. And again, if the dominance chart is a weekly bear flag, this weekly uptrend on ETHBTC will likely remain intact. But we need a daily trend change on the BTC pairing. Sol USDT. So in the last video, we talked about how the BTC pairing was standing out to us. Why? Because the US dollar pairing broke to a lower low and the BTC pairing did not. Higher low set. The BTC pairing is a weekly inside bar last week and forming another one now. Resistance is up at 356 and we're in an equilibrium. You can watch it on the 12-hour. A little bit more details, but just a tightening range. And if you are a Sol bull, you definitely want a bull break of this pattern. Sol USDT dropped to a lower low. We have a support line to be watching. You can draw it on the hourly here. All these touches. And we had a falling wedge setup where the falling wedge broke bull here. But 4-hour time frame does need a trend change. Just like everybody else, we're testing resistance of 144.64. Bears are going to try and reject it. And if they do, 4-hour trend change needed, scouting a weekly higher low. Same thing as Bitcoin. We'll see the size of the daily bounce. Can the bull set up a daily trend change? But one time frame at a time. Doge. Why am I looking at Doge? I know a lot of people think Doge is a joke. I don't care what you think about it. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. What matters is the technical setup and the opportunity to make money. So here's a perfect example of how a community with many eyes help each other out. So I haven't looked at Dogecoin in weeks. And someone made a post in the chat room yesterday, Elastic Rock. Anyone else tempted with Doge daily oversold? A lot of people sharing their feelings about it in emojis. That was at 5:40 p.m. yesterday. So at 5:40 p.m. on the 21st, we were trading at, right here, we were right down near the low. A good time to be buying in hindsight. We had a couple key support levels. So because of his post, it was the first time I looked at Dogecoin. And the first thing I do is I look at Doge BTC. How's it shaping up? And I looked and saw, daily bounce is underway. That's odd because all of our altcoins, BTC pairings are really weak right now because we're dumping and the alts are dumping faster. Big red light flashes in my brain. That stands out. So I was actually surprised. Doge BTC has a daily bounce going. Let's see if the bear break of 1988 lacks follow through. And the answer was, yes, it lacked follow through. We broke by 12/10ths of a penny straight into a bounce. What does a bear break with a lack of follow through mean when we're scouting bounces? It means scout a falling wedge. So from there, beat Doge USDT 3 hours later. Watch the falling wedge shaping up. So at that point in time, the bear breaks with a lack of follow through, a clear descending resistance line, and the table was set. I had a tighter resistance here. This is how I had drawn it. And the table was set for the bulls to attempt to bounce. We broke bullish. We back tested off of the previous resistance line and held it as support. If you remember months ago, Litecoin did the same thing on a wedge break. And now we've got the breakout. And now we've got AMC news leading to follow through on this breakout. But all in all, it is a 10, almost a 15% bull move. Who cares what the coin is? Who cares what the project is? We care about the technical setups. And this had a lot of things aligning. And the first thing that was aligning, it was also one of the only altcoins to be hitting daily oversold. We hit right at 30 RSI. But a lot of things aligned. The BTC pairing stood out. Reason number one for even looking for a bull bounce. Falling wedge, and the rest is history. Four-hour on Doge. Tons of space for a 4-hour higher low, but it does still need to change the trend just like everybody else. So into tomorrow, 4-hour timeframes on watch. Can the bulls confirm the trend change? What's the reaction to the stock market world and to cryptocurrencies, to Powell? Maybe that leads to our 4-hour consolidation. We'll have to see. Otherwise, if we confirm 4-hour trend changes, we zoom out, scout daily lower highs, and gauge how significant is the daily bounce retracement. I hope you're well. Do good things out there, and we'll check back in soon.